In this channel, we take a look at usually character models. We see how they're made. We talk about games from developer standpoint, especially the art side, which is what I do. But today, I want you to do it. I'm going to teach you how to create a high-end character inside a video game engine and animate it. It's very easy. It's free. And this is also a topic that was highly requested on my Clair Obscur video where I covered how they used Unreal Engine 5. You see them here using iPhones. You don't even need an iPhone anymore. Any camera will do. However, I rather that you use a phone camera and a selfie camera. It's going to make the process much easier. But if you want to use a webcam, that works as well. Any kind of video will do. And the results is what you see right here. So this is what we are going to achieve today, and this is what I hope you guys also achieve by the end of this tutorial. As you can see, what I have is the video from my phone. It's just an Android phone, selfie camera, nothing special. Now, this is a new type of content that I will be introducing in the channel because aside from me talking all the time about what other people do with their games, I want you guys, if you're an indie dev or if you're somebody that just likes to know how games are made and maybe want to have fun with this, you can do it too. Now, we're still going to be having our dissected video on the channel. This is just going to be another type of video that is going to be in between those. And with that being said, let's get started. Okay, here we are in the Unreal Engine website where everything starts. They have a cool video running. You're just going to click on Get Unreal Engine. Now in here, you're going to download the launcher. You can also download it from this link right here. However, I highly recommend that you create an account because this is going to be utilized for so many things that we will be discussing in the coming videos. So yeah, make sure you just signed in, create an account. It's very easy. And you're just going to install it wherever you have more space available. There are some recommendations here for Unreal Engine. So you can see for Windows. I'm not going to talk about Mac because I'm not from that world. So if you have a Mac, there are some compatibilities thing and you can follow along for the most part. But I'm just going to dedicate to Windows. So you can see here Windows 10, 64 bits, quad-core Intel or AMD, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a compatible graphics card. Now, my recommendation, if you're going to be doing high-end graphics, you are going to need a decent RTX card. I have a 3090. 3090 is no longer top of the line. I couldn't get a 5090. I don't even think they are in stock. But the overall requirements for running Unreal are not that high. And we'll talk about doing other things in the future that are more high-end, more cinematic and stuff. But for now, you're not going to need more than what it says here on the website. However, if you want to know what I have, like I mentioned, my 3090. I have 64 gigs of RAM. I have an AMD 7850X, which has a lot of cores. I used to run a regular Intel quad-core, like 9000K. It wasn't like top of the line, but that served me well for several years. I just decided to upgrade to this because I just use this so much. But again, a lot of people will be able to jump into Unreal with their laptops. If you have an RTX card like a 3060, 2060, you are still going to have very decent performance when it comes into Unreal Engine, as long as you're not hitting the more cinematic stuff, which we'll talk about later in other videos. Now, after you've downloaded the Epic Launcher, you should have something like what I have here on screen. This is the Epic Launcher. It serves for, if you're using UEFN, you'll see it here. If you buy any games on the Epic Games Store, there will be here as well. So once you are here, you're going to click on Unreal Engine and you're going to go to the library tab. That's this one right here, not this one. I'm going to go into the library and your projects are going to be right here. You can see I have several projects and your engine versions are going to be right here as well. Now for this, we are going to use the latest version of Unreal Engine, which is 5.6. So make sure you click here on the engine version, you select 5.6. If you're watching in the future, it's probably 5.6 point something. You can choose the latest one. It will work just as well. So once you're installing the engine, make sure that you go to options and make sure that you check Metahuman core data. This isn't checked by default, and you are going to need this in order to do what I'm about to show you. So make sure that's checked. Anything else is not necessarily, unless you are targeting any of these specific platforms. And other than that, just launch the engine. Depending on your CPU, it's going to take a little bit less or a little bit longer. Mine just take a little bit because I've already compiled shaders. If you have played any game made with Unreal Engine, you will be familiar with the subject of compiling shaders. So it does it every now and again. It doesn't last as long as it used to, but depending on the CPU you have, it can last a little bit. So just take that into account. And once you do that, you're going to come into this window. Now, this window right here, all you got to do is select what kind of project you're going to do. I'm in between games and film and video. For the short films that I've done and like most of the work that I do in Unreal Engine, I usually use the film and video because it comes with everything activated. So unless you are doing games, I highly recommend you just open films and video. Otherwise, just go with this one. It contains most of the stuff that we're going to use. It's just some plugins and some settings may not be on by default. So we are going to use film and video, blank project, give it a name. Make sure that you give it a location where you want your projects to be saved. I personally have all my projects on an SSD. I do not use a regular hard drive for Unreal Engine or any projects. You cannot use spaces here in Unreal, so make sure your name is either together or separated by one of these. So there you go, create, and I'll see you in the engine. A couple of things that we need to discuss, just so you guys know. How do you're probably going to be in one of these, but without the metahumans that I already have on stage. This is how yours is probably going to look like. With a light, this little sun is light, a player start, and these other things right here that we'll explain later. Now, when it comes to navigation in Unreal Engine, one of the beauties about this engine is that you navigate just like you're in a first-person shooter. If you've ever played first-person shooters on mouse and keyboard, so you hold your right click to kind of like rotate around, and you use WASD to move. So if you right click and you click WASD, by holding right click, you will rotate around just like if you are in a first-person shooter. You can pan around if you hold your middle mouse button, and you can zoom in and out by just doing the scroll wheel. However, instead of zooming in and out, I just, get closer. If you hold right click and you scroll your mouse wheel, I don't know if you can see it right here next to the word perspective. This is the camera speed. So if I go up, it increases the camera speed and it's crazy. If I go down, it decreases the camera speed. Now over here, you have your content browser. This is where all your assets are going to be located. You see that I have a bunch of folders there from several assets that I've already made. And over here, you got your outliner. This is for you to select what do you have on screen. We're going to go more in depth in other tutorials, but for now, I just want to focus on the character creation with the metahumans because that is what we talk so much here in this channel. We talk a lot about game character creation, and I think the metahuman is one of the best things for everybody to experiment what it is to make a character inside a game engine. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have everything set up for this to work. So you're going to go to edit and you're going to go to plugins. And over here, you're just going to make sure that you have all these plugins checked. So I'm going to type Metahuman, and you're going to see that there are all these plugins. You will have some unchecked, so just make sure that you've checked them all. All right, make sure that you check them all. Another thing that I almost forgot is you are going to need another plugin from the library. It's called Metahuman Animator Depth processing. So now we're going to go into the Fab website. If you watch my video on Clair Obscur about the marketplace, I use this website a lot. This is the Unreal marketplace where you're going to find all the assets for your games if you're using Unreal Engine. And you're also going to find plugins like the one we're going to download. So this is the Fab website. As I said, I've already mentioned here, you should watch my Clair Obscur video because I go a lot in depth into all the assets that game is. So just type Metahuman depth, and yeah, I think I spelled it correctly. And it's this one right here. It says Metahuman Animator Depth Pro. Just click on this. So processing plugin, of course, and make sure you add it to your library, and that'll be it for the website. Then all you have to do is go here into your Epic launcher and look for it. So this is why it's important that you have an account, because that account is something that you're going to sign into when you're in your Epic's game launcher. It's very important for you to like seamlessly discover your assets that you already have in your library, like this plugin. So you can see I have the Metahuman Animator Depth, and you click on Install to Engine. I've already have it installed, so that's why it's giving me the message. But in your case, it will prompt you to install it for 5.6 or anything else that comes after 5.6. So I already have a folder here with several metahumans. This one's a custom metahuman that you cannot get in the Metahuman Creator. I want to show it later in another video how to get this. It's a little bit more advanced. So now we're going to right click, and in this menu, you're going to see something called Metahuman. In this part, you're going to go to Metahuman Character, which is basically your character creator. I'm going to call it Tutorial. Double click to open it. It's going to take a little bit. Again, depends on your machine. But once it loads, it should look something like this. So this is your Metahuman Character Creator. Basically, it kind of works like any creator that you've seen in other video games so far. So you got, like, if I scroll back and I click, left click and move it around, you can see this metahuman. Right now, we kind of have a little bit of an androgynous character because, again, you can create both male and female with this. We're going to get a lot more in depth in future videos, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for notification because we are going to have some custom, very good looking metahumans in the future. But for now, we're going to use presets just for the purpose of this video. So if you go here to the little star, the presets right here, there's a bunch of things that you can select. So let's just scroll and let's select, I don't know, let's go with Orlando. So you double click, and as you can see, it loads Orlando completely. Right now it's loading the grooms. There he is. And he is kind of like in tidy whities. We'll talk about other types of clothes in a little bit. But what I want you to see is how good this looks. This is very, very nice when it comes to the skin textures, the pores, and the whole break of the skin with the little freckles and all that, the hair. This is one of the things that I always talk about when you hear me talk about hair in video game characters. These are not hair cards. Grooms are a kind of hair that is made with little lines, little splines. And you're going to see once we have the character working that this thing looks very, very realistic. And you can see the skin here. You can see all these little hairs that he has on the beard. Everything looks pretty good. Now, you can use something like this for your games. There are various levels of details. Not only can you get the cinematic version, which is the one that I use the most and the one that I use for my avatar, but you also can use one for UEFN. So if you like Fortnite and you like creating in UEFN, you can also use these characters for that purpose. Or if you want to use it for your games, these characters are fantastic for that and they look pretty cool. Now, another good thing about these characters is if you're working in other engines like Unity, Godot, or whatever other engine, Unreal Engine just came out with a license that will allow you to use these characters outside of Unreal Engine. So in a bit, we'll see that there's a way to create a metahuman package for you to use outside Unreal. So let's say we got him as a preset. I'm not going to get into the whole customization because, again, that's for another video, but you have a lot of things right here. when it comes to the material, the eyes. So for now, just select the preset and we're going to go into assembly. Right here is telling me that the character is not rigged. This is another concept that we talked about in the channel when we reviewed AAA assets. So the rig is the bones and the controllers that drive your character. So this metahuman needs a rig. So we're going to click on create full rig. And it's going to take a little bit, again, depending on your system, because this is done locally as far as I know. So we're going to be back once it's done. All right, the rigging is done. And if you want to see your metahuman working, then you can go on this side. You can see the metahuman has animations. By the way, you can click on your scroll wheel and just pan up and down, side to side. And let's just do a body range of motion. So if you click here, you can click on, right now it's on idle. So if I click the play button, you can see that it's just in the idle pose. We can also switch to body range of motion, which is a animation that's usually done for testing out the rig. But you can see your newly created character just animating there, just doing some stretching, kind of like what you do before you do P90X or Insanity, if you've seen those programs. But yeah, that's enough of that. And if you pause it, it'll just go to default pose. Now that he is done, it's going to tell you the character is missing textures, use download textures sources. So you're going to click this button right here in order to get the texture. He looks texture right now, but in order for you to kind of like finalize the creation of this character, you have to download the textures. So in here you have several options. You have 8K, which is what I use. That is mostly for cinematic use. If you don't have a high-end computer or if you are making a game, I don't recommend you use 8K unless you are doing the cinematics for your game. Use 2K for the most part. Most games are 2K. Sometimes you can use 4K, but honestly, 2K looks fine. Let's just choose 4K in this case. Okay, that is done. So the menu that was right here went away. All you have to do is go back to any of the other menus and then come here. And then you'll see these two things and a green button that says assemble. Assemble is what's basically going to create your character for engine use. Now you can see here in assembly, there's a drop down menu that you can use for UE Cine Complete. This means the cinematic version, again, the one that I use the most. There's also the optimized, which is the one that I would recommend if you are making a game. There's a UEFN one if you're working with Fortnite Creative. And this is the DCC export. This is going to be the one that you use if you want to get this into Blender and play with it, into Maya. Okay, now that we've got our whole metahuman, we have a folder right here in the content browser. So double click it. And your metahuman should be there with the name that you gave it. You get into it. And your metahuman file should be there, named BP underscore the name that you gave it. We double click it. Your metahuman's probably not looking the same way that you made him. And that is because of the LODs. We've already talked about LODs in the channel. Highly recommend that you watch my other videos because we go into so many concepts when it comes to character art and game design. So in here, we need the LD0. You notice something right here. The LD0 is the one that I always gave for AAA games because that is the one that is usually assigned with the most detail because we want to see our metahuman to look as great as possible. So you're going to force LD0. It's probably have a -1 here. And numbers of LODs, we're going to leave it at 1 because we're just going to be using one LOD, at least for now, until we get into like the game part in later videos. So once you're done with that, make sure you hit save. Always hit save here because it's a game engine. Game engines are, they can overreact sometimes. And then all you have to do is drag and drop him right here. As you can see, I already have one inside the engine. Control-C to undo, by the way. Now we're going to be using the video. Mine, I recorded, like I mentioned in the beginning, with my phone. It's just selfie cam with my tripod that I have right here. I also have a helmet that I use with my motion capture. This was provided to me by Rococo. Highly recommend this helmet, by the way. Very good value if you use it with a motion capture suit. Otherwise, just use the tripod, but just make sure that you do kind of like a little bit above the head and just a little bit around your collarbone. So once you have your Metahuman here, let's go to Tools, because we want to get the footage that we recorded. Live Link Hub. It's this one right here in the bottom. Now, if you follow me from before, from my previous channel, you know that Live Link was already in the engine. Now Live Link is something else. It's something different for some reason. Because now if I close Unreal Engine and I leave this up, this will stay open. It didn't used to be this way. So all you got to do is go here into Capture Manager. It defaults to live data. So if you're using the Live Link app with Android or iPhone, this is the part where you want to do it now. We're not going to be talking about Live Link Face just yet. I'm saving that for another video because, well, the Android portion doesn't support my phone and it's a little bit more restrictive than what I'm showing you today. So you're going to change from here to Capture Manager. This is the easiest part of everything we've done. So all you got to do is add devices. You're going to select this mono video ingest. Click here, give it a name. Let's just call it tutorial test. Always that underscore because this thing doesn't take spaces. Now you're going to browse to the folder where you have that video saved, like I have right here. Remember, we are browsing to a folder, so you're not going to see any files right here. We're selecting a folder. So if you don't see any files, please don't freak out. Just select that folder and your files will populate right there. Now, if your footage, for some reason, I don't know why, because if I play this video outside of Unreal, it looks vertical. I don't know why it flipped one side, but it doesn't matter. We can fix that. So we just click on the video that we want to use. We click on Add to Queue. Then we click on Set Video, and first we are going to tell it where to save. In my case, I already have a folder for that. And down here, you're going to select your format. If you select PNG, it's going to take a little bit longer than JPEG. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to leave it as JPEG. PNGs have a higher bit depth and may give you a better quality video. I haven't noticed that much of a difference between JPEG and PNG. Over here, you see there's something called image rotation because our image is rotated this way. We're going to be checking something here in this drop-down menu. Click here, and you're going to see several things you can select. Clockwise 90 degrees, 180, and 270. In our case, it's just 90 degrees because my footage was vertical and it just switched to one place. So why, I don't know. But I'm just going to click clockwise 90 degrees. Now you're not going to see anything here on preview. It's just going to do it after the fact. So once you've done that, click on start. It's going to take a little bit. I'll be right back. Right. It is done. Now, once the status icon changes to this, you can minimize or just get out of there. Now we're going to go into our content browser and we're going to go to a brand new folder that just got created called Capture Manager. In here, we are going to double click, go to imports, and you're going to see that, well, I have several folders because I've done this several times, but you will have a folder with the name that you gave it, and then you are going to have your files right here. Now, if you want, you can create this in another folder anywhere in the content browser. I'm just going to do it here just because it's going to be easier to find. So right click, Metahuman Performance. So it's the last one in this drop-down menu. And we'll just give it a name and double click. Okay, it's going to present you with this. Now, before we do anything, we need to find out one specific name. And the reason for that is because we want to use the face of our newly created Metahuman into our performance capture. Now, I do have several Metahumans here already. So if you just have one Metahuman, you probably don't have to do this, but this is just in case you do, or you have maybe other characters in your project. So make sure you go to your Metahuman, click on face. So I think I'm covering it, so I'm going to turn myself off for a second so you can see it's right here. So go to face, scroll down until you see this skeletal mesh asset right here. Mine is named skm_tutorial misspelled n_face mesh. So this is the face that I'm going to be using so I can get his. Double click here. In here, you're going to change the input type from depth footage into monocular footage. Click there. Then you're going to go into this drop down menu. You're going to look for the one that you just made. So make sure that you have the name right here. If you click it once and twice, just with a little bit of space of time, then all I like to do is Control C and over here Control V, and you're going to see the capture that you just made. So right here, you can scroll the whole thing. It even has audio for you to test it later. So I know mine looks like it has some weird colors. It doesn't matter, it works well. Now, all you have to do is give it a face. So if we give it a face, you can see here in visualization mesh, we're going to select the face of the metahuman that we just created. This one, and it's the face mesh. Make sure you pick the one that says face mesh, not body mesh. So we click on face mesh. It's going to give you this message. Just click yes, and your face mesh should be here. It's going to appear without any clothes or any hair, so that's fine. Then all you have to do is click on process. This is something a little bit more advanced. So if you're using a motion capture use like I usually am, then you need to disable the head movement, because the head movement is going to come from your motion capture. Otherwise, you can just do transform track, or control rig is the most common one that I usually like to do. But in this case, we can leave it at transform track and we'll take care of the floating head. Yes, there is going to be a floating head in a second. So I'm just going to hit process. So as you can see, here is running pretty fast. Depends on the length of your take and depends on also your system. So, but I think it's going fast enough. I'm not actually increasing the speed or doing anything extra. Let me actually turn on. So you can see me again right here. And it's almost done. Again, I didn't fast forward anything. It goes pretty fast. Now, if you want, you can preview your animation over here. Same navigation here is just the same WASD. And you can just play your animation right here and you're going to see how he moves just like I'm doing. You're going to see there's a little bit of motion in the neck here, kind of like a floating head situation. But that's okay. Everything is fine. I just want you to preview your animation. And if you recorded this with audio, I hope, then you also should have audio. All right, now that we've done here, all we have to do is pause this and we need to export that animation. So for the animations, I already have a folder here. So you can select whatever folder you want to throw it in. I'm going to just name it like that, name it whatever you want, and click on save. Now it's going to come to here and ask you, do you want head movement? Do you not want head movement? Export range and everything else, I just leave it as default and hit create. Usually this takes almost no time. Once it's done, you can minimize or exit out of that. And your animation should be here. Now, how we throw it onto our metahuman. For our metahuman to be talking with an animation, we usually have to use sequencer. I talked about sequencer on my video on the Witcher demo and the Unreal Engine 5.6 showcase. So we're going to click this little clapboard, the one that they use for the movies, and we're going to create a new sequence. So add level sequence. Now we have this little interface right here. If you play with any editors before, it's a little bit similar, especially if you've been in other DCC apps as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on our metahuman and we're going to drag him over from the outliner that is right here. You can also click on add, by the way. Now, after you dragged and dropped him into sequencer, you can see that he has some controls. And this is part of what we call the rig. All the controls that you have right here, you have controls for the body and controls for the face and this little area. If you happen to want to play with it, you can select the controllers. Over here, you have the various types of modes that you can do. You see that this little icon is for movement, which usually when you are using controllers for metahumans, you do mostly rotation. So you're going to switch to this one, or just click the letter E, and you see that we can move our metahuman. So animating characters in 3D, if you're not a 3D person or a game mod person, animating characters in 3D is mostly like doing puppeteering. You just pose it and that's it, unless you're using motion capture suit like I usually do. So we're going to look at the face. We're not going to look at motions for the body. Now, in order to add the facial animation, we need to go into this face slot, click here, delete it. We need to delete that. Don't worry, we can get it back later if we want to. In the case of the one that we just created, it was tutorial, there it is, anim face. We click on it and you're going to see that right now everything is too small. The animation is actually larger than the playback line that we have right here. So we need to increase that playback line. There's this number here in gray. By the way, if you don't see this little bar right here that I have in this place, all you have to do is go into this little button right here that says perspective, click there, and make sure that you are in cinematic viewport. I'm always in cinematic viewport. All my projects are usually this way, but yours should be on default viewport without all these things that are like the play buttons and all that. So click on cinematic viewport so you can see the same thing that I'm seeing. And then you have this red number and a gray number. The gray number means how wide your playback line is going to be. The red number is going to be this little red flag, same as this green number is going to be this little green flag. Usually don't change the green flag because that's the beginning, it's at 0. But we're going to change the gray number. We're going to give it kind of like a 5,000. Maybe 5,000 is too much, so let's do 2,200. And you can see that now we have our whole animation. All I'm going to do is, you can see once I'm hover over this red line, I can move it. I'm going to move it all the way to the end. And if I play, you can see that he starts animating. And we have a facial animation right now. Now we do have a kind of like a floating head situation, which can be a little bit weird. So I am going to show you how to take care of that in a second. But first, if you want, we can add audio. This blue number means the scrubber bar. This is called the scrubber bar. And let's just add the sound. So the sound is the WAV file that is usually in the same folder that your video is saved once it got into Unreal. Get to the name, Control-C, then come here, add audio track. It's going to get this message, just say yes, and then just click here, paste that name, is this one right here, and there we have our audio. We have our metahuman with sounds, so I'm going to play it for you. So this is what we are going to achieve today, and this is what I hope you guys also achieve by the end of this tutorial. As you can see, what I have is the video from my phone. It's just an Android phone, selfie camera, nothing special. You got a facial animation that you can play with. If you have some games, some cinematics, some dialogue, this is a great way to add it. If you're using metahumans inside your video game, you can customize your characters to use this same setup. If you're an indie gamer, if you are not anything into game development, you just want to have fun with it, this is all free, by the way. You can just access it. Now let's fix this floating head right here. In order to fix this issue, what we're going to do is I'm just going to reduce this because there's no audio right here. So just move that head all the way here. And I'm going to right click on body, and we're going to bake to control rig. Now you need to uncheck this little flag right here. We shouldn't have to do this. This may be a bug that's corrected in the future. But if you go here and you don't see Metahuman control rig, then you need to uncheck that and go to Metahuman control rig is right here. It's going to give you this. I never play with these sport settings, so just leave it as they are and click create. All right, it's done. Now you see a bunch of dots. That means that is baked, that we have the animation baked down into keyframes that we can manage. We're going to do the same with the face. So right click, face, control board, control rig. You're not going to use the Metahuman control rig. You're going to be using the face control board for the face. So click there. Okay, now we have both our keyframes for body and face. Now what we have to do is find something called a head control switch. So if I type it here in the search bar and just go right here, this is the one that we're talking about. This is what's making our head float. And if you're somebody that came here from my other channel, because I used to have a lot of advanced Unreal Engine users, if you know another way to fix this, just let me know. This is the way that I know if I don't have any other animations on the body. So I'm going to delete this whole thing. Gonna go back to the first frame, all the way right here. First frame is 184, and we're going to switch this from 1 to 0. And you see our head instantly returns. So we keyframe this. You can see that our head is talking, but is not moving at all. Now we want that head movement to come back. So the way that we do it is over here in the head control, we untwirl this menu, and you're going to see that we have several things right here. We want specifically the rotation, because this thing right here that we're talking about is this thing right here, which drives the head. So I want the rotation from the animation that we have to be translated into this. Usually I don't do this because I have my motion capture suit driving the head, but for the purposes of this demo, this is how you fix this issue. And especially if you're using other animations and you just want to transport this into that other animation and make it look great. So what we're going to do is where it says rotation, this one is rotation roll, rotation pitch, rotation yaw. We're going to pretty much delete all the keys. So select the whole and get rid of them. They were 0 anyway, so they were not doing anything. Now we're going to come back down here and we're going to take the ones from the face animation and we're going to start copy and pasting one by one. So rotation, roll into roll. And you're going to see the head. If you look at the head, it's going to be changing a little bit. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go with pitch, Control Z. If we go here, just click anywhere here on the viewport and hit the letter G. That'll get rid of the controllers because we want to see our character. Now if I play,
So this
so what do you think about this process? Pretty fun, huh? So if you're an indie game, now you know that you can do it without having a lot of costly equipment. This is the same process that they use for Clair Obscur-ish. And I say ish because this is a brand new process. That it wasn't there with like any camera. You must use an iPhone back in the day. Everyone, this is why I bought this iPhone, just so I can do the facial motion capture, but now you can do it with any camera. I think that's amazing. So let me know what you think about this process and what else do you want to see about Metahumans. I'm going to be adding more educational content about Unreal Engine, related to how you can use it for games. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, hit that like, leave me a comment. It goes a long way by helping out the channel. All my socials are in the description down below. I'll see you in the next one.